All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. So you're welcome to the practical session of the Educate International Conference on Education and Technology with the theme, Leveraging Technologies for Inclusive Quality Education. As you know, Educate.be is the Belgian platform for education and training in development cooperation. The conference is organized by Educate.be with the support of VVOB, APEFE, and the Belgian government. This session is part of the full program of the International Conference on Education and Technology, which of course began this morning with a general session. Today's session is organized by VVOB, APEFE, and IFEF, and will last 60 minutes. My name is Oyindamila Johnson. I work with VVOB as the Global Project and Proposal Developer, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Educate uses this opportunity to warmly thank its member organizations, partners, and all speakers. So some bit of technical instructions for our online participants. Of course, today's session will be in English and French, and we have arranged for 2 interpreters. To listen to the English version, please activate the button on your screen, and if you prefer to hear the original language, there's no need to activate the translation. And of course, your questions are not just welcome, they are integral to our conversation today, and we value your active participation during this session. For our online participants, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and we'll ensure that they are passed on to the speakers at the appropriate time. Also, a final reminder that this session will be recorded, and all presentations and videos will be available on www.educate.be. Lastly, please feel free to share your thoughts, continue the engagement on social media through our conference hashtag #EdTech4Inclusion. So going right into this session will explore 2 innovative approaches to education and labor market integration. In our first case study today, VVOB in Rwanda will share key lessons from the Scratch 2050 project. The project aims to build the competencies of secondary school teachers in STEM and ICT to integrate Scratch into lesson plans and facilitate after-school coding clubs. Now, Scratch is a free coding tool that develops creative problem-solving and collaborative skills, helping learners to thrive in a digital economy. Some of you might have discovered it during the lunch break, where we had the unplugged teaser session organized by my colleague Inge. Scratch is part of the science and technology and ICT curricula in primary and secondary school in Rwanda. However, teachers need support with teaching Scratch as it was not originally part of the education program. So, next slide, please. So in this session, we aim to share key insights in 2 key elements, sometimes challenges, common for digital skills building projects in the education sector, such as building a connection with the world of work, closing the digital divide at the level of teachers and learners, for example, in the area of gender. And also, a bit of background that the Scratch 2050 project was co-implemented with the Rwanda Basic Education Board, Rwanda Coding Academy, and VVOB. Rwandan Association for Women in Science and Engineering, RAWISE, also gave critical advice, and many of the Scratch trainers came from the organization. So we're happy to have 2 presenters from our project partners joining us online today, and they'll be sharing their key insights into this program. So let me go right ahead and read their bios. You can see that they've joined us online already. So our first speaker for today, Mrs. Sengati Wasenga Dayan, is the acting head of Department of ICT in Education in Rwanda Basic Education Board. She has more than 15 years of experience in the ICT in education sector, where she also served as the Director of Digital Content and Instructional Technology Development, and also Director of Capacity Development and Training in the ICT in Education Department at REB. She's committed to ensuring that every child in Rwanda has access to quality education through technology and is equipped with the skills that they need to thrive in the digital age. Our second speaker for today, Dr. Jennifer Batamuliza, is the head of Data-Driven Incubation Hub and short professional courses at the African Center of Excellence in Data Science at the University of Rwanda. She is also a lecturer at the University of Rwanda, teaching IT courses to undergraduate students and data science courses to master's students in data science. She also serves as the vice president for Rwandan Association for Women in Science and Engineering, and also serves as founder and CEO of RWA Tech Hub, an organization that trains and mentors girls in ICT. So now we're going to move to our introductory video about this project, and then I hand it over to Diane to share her thoughts further with us. Thank you. So we can have the video play once the technical team is ready.
So building an inclusive digital economy has long been an objective of the government of Rwanda. To reinforce this ambition, VVOB Education for Development, together with our partners, implements the Scratch 2050 project. The project improves the relevance of secondary STEM education and strengthens the link with the world of work by supporting STEM and ICT teachers in Eastern Rwanda to set up after-school coding clubs. By introducing secondary school learners to Scratch, a free coding tool, the project develops a creative problem-solving and collaborating skills, helping learners to thrive in a digital economy. In the first cycle, 1,832 learners learned how to code. Of these 1,832 learners, 46% are girls. The Scratch 2050 project is indeed committed to inclusiveness. 1 out of 3 teachers is female, and the partnership with RWIS, Rwandan Association for Women in Science and Engineering, allows us to put other female role models forward. Why is this Scratch project innovative? Firstly, the coding clubs welcome all learners moving beyond STEM or computer science. This way, as many learners as possible are exposed to 21st century skills. Secondly, the project develops digital skills in an enjoyable environment, combining fun with learning the language of Generation Z outside the class context. Thirdly, teachers are trained in a cost-effective way as facilitators of the learning process. Lastly, by making a strong link with the world of working by visiting leading tech companies, learners are exposed to opportunities to pursue a career in ICT, making Rwanda's Vision 2050 a reality.
In our school, many people faked Scratch. They said, I'm an IT, how am I supposed to play around with cats and dogs and chickens? And most people didn't like it because I also thought it was lame. But I went there because I liked playing around, stuff like that, and it was during free time, so I went there to scratch around. So when I go back, I'm going to tell them that it's not actually chickens and cats. It can also be applied in robotics and stuff like that.
At the end of each coding cycle, young coders are celebrated on Scratch Day during a hackathon. The coders showcase their 21st century skills and are awarded. Scratch 2050 shows a promising approach to national scale in Rwanda and beyond. With our focus on girls, we nurture the whole Generation Z and thrive in a digital society.
All right, thank you very much. At this point, we'll invite
So
Diane
building an
to
inclusive
share her thoughts with us. So Diane, over to you, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you talking about this project, which was successful and very interesting for our children when we talk about ICT in education. So now I'm going to give you a bit of the background of the project, which was a 2 years project that was piloted from 2020 to 2022. And we were able to reach out to 54 secondary schools. And this is in one of the 30 districts in Rwanda, Kayonza district. The project reached out to 158 STEM and ICT teachers from these schools. And this is approximately 3 teachers per school. We intended to train them on digital literacy, but also on Scratch, like Dr. Jennifer said. Specifically on Scratch, teachers learned how to integrate Scratch into their lesson plans, but also how to facilitate coding with their learners. In total, we had established 274 coding clubs. This is to be able to reach out to 3,724 learners. And you have heard about it, of which more than 46% were girls. Such coding clubs provide the learners with the opportunity to develop digital skills in a more enjoyable environment, combining fun with learning the language of Generation Z. This is more like an edutainment, the programming language. To bring the coding clubs to life and bring the coders together, 2 Scratch competitions were organized throughout the project. And these competitions started at the school level, continued the sector level, and finished at the district level through a Scratch Day celebration. During that Scratch Day, each learners or each winner at the sector level had the opportunity to present their Scratch project, followed by a Q&A, and the top Scratch project of each competition were awarded. Most importantly, teachers and learners got inspired. To demonstrate the potential of coding skills in the world of work and trigger students' curiosity for a career in ICT, exposure visits to leading tech companies were also organized for selected students and their teachers. These exposure visits offered an opportunity for learners and teachers to understanding why coding skills are important in a professional life and how such skills can be used. In the next slide, we're going to see that one of the participants, who is a girl, in the project, Alice Nyomuchiza, who testified how her participation in the coding clubs and the exposure visit influenced her transversal and entrepreneurial skills, and how such skills can benefit her career later and also stay competitive in a changing job market. In this slide, you can see that through these exposure visits, learners got inspired on the value of learning to code with Scratch. They learned that they can program robots based on Scratch, that they progress to more advanced coding languages, that they can join the Rwanda Coding Academy, and so on. The project revealed these long-term ambitions and career perspective, which motivated learners. Not only learners got inspired, but also participating teachers got inspired. For instance, We have an ICT teacher, Eric Iyamuremye, who started his own business providing ICT training. This summer, he also organized a coding camp on Scratch with 100 children in his community. Now let me give the floor to Dr. Jennifer.
Good afternoon, all. So I'm really glad to be here today with you all. So I'm going to continue from where my colleague Diane has stopped. So first, I would like to say that the project tackled gender stereotypes and bridged the digital divide. So, for instance, girls participating in the project initially assumed that ICT was for boys. Also, female teachers lacked skills and confidence to use Scratch lessons. So, let me go to the next slide. Yes. Um, So if we look at the results of the Scratch 2050 project, the project aimed to tackle these challenges. Teachers increased their digital literacy skills on a scale of 100. Teachers' digital literacy skills increased from 66 to 78 at endline. So while female teachers demonstrated lower levels of digital literacy overall, they also had a greater relative increase in score from baseline to endline. So by the end of the intervention, the gap between male and female teachers lessened from a 9-point difference to less than a 4-point difference. You can see that the difference is huge. So in total, 74% of teachers felt confident in their ability to lead a Scratch coding club. In the baseline survey, only 28% of teachers felt a similar level of self-confidence concerning leading a Scratch coding club. Over 1/3 of teachers reported complete confidence when leading Scratch clubs compared to less than 20% of teachers at the baseline. So in terms of students, 86% of learners met a high level of proficiency on the digital literacy assessment by the end of the project. Students who had lower levels of proficiency prior to participation in the club saw the greatest increase in skills because of their participation in the Scratch project. So as a result of the project, 1 year after its completion, female student Ornella Irahari won the National Scratch competition for secondary education in which all districts of the country competed. Ornella testified, "I learned that I can do anything with coding. You can even reach your dreams." Then the next slide. Yes. So the project impacted the gender digital divide at 3 levels. The first level is trainers, role modeling. Female Rawis trainers acted as role models for teachers and students because the Rawis trainers were the majority of the trainers. So this also increased the confidence of the ladies, the teachers, and the girls. Teachers in total, 74% of teachers felt confident in their ability to lead a Scratch coding club by the end of the project. In the baseline survey, only 28% of teachers felt a similar level of self-confidence in relation to lead Scratch coding clubs. So although male teachers exhibited slightly higher levels of self-confidence for leading Scratch clubs, the gap between male and female teacher scores decreased considerably since the baseline survey. So at the baseline, there was a 14% point gap between male and female teachers who felt confident leading Scratch coding clubs. So this difference between male and female teachers lessened to less than a 5% point difference by the end of the project. So the crucial role of strengthening self-confidence for closing gender gaps in STEM education was also highlighted in a research which Rawiz conducted on the Scratch project together with KU Leuven, a Belgian university. So learners, a gender intentional selection was done of girls to participate in the coding clubs, leading to a 50% balance. So it was really amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much to our presenters, Diane and Jennifer, for those insightful thoughts that you've both shared with us. So I'm going to open the floor to our participants, both on site and then online also. So if you have any questions to our presenters, now will be the points for you to ask them. Okay, can someone please help with the mic, please? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for those presentations. I'm wondering what the plans are next. So it was mentioned there was the summer camp this year. Is there plans to scale it up in schools? Is it being scaled within the education system?
Okay, so is there someone in particular that the question is addressed to? Anyone?
Both
Okay.
of our presenters.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, another question. Okay, so we'll take the second question and then we'll give our presenters the opportunity to respond to them.
The way in which the clubs are organized makes me think of what we call extended schools. Extended schools organizing clubs besides the, say, the regular classes. And yeah, I wonder if there is any connection between what happens within the clubs and the lessons during the regular classes. Because it is important to have some, say, connection and to make the clubs and the classes reinforce learning mutually.
All right. So thank you for those two great questions. So I'm going to give it over to Diane or Jennifer to please respond to those questions.
Thank you so much. Maybe I'm going to comment on the first question. What is next? What is next is that the project itself was aligned to the curricula. So because the curriculum stipulates that we have to integrate the use and the integration of technology as a tool for teaching and learning in all subjects and at all levels. So this project kind of was important, but also a testimony on how this was possible. So I'm not sure about talking about scaling up, but it will be also actually to use it not being a project, but use it in the curriculum. Because as you heard in the presentation, Scratch itself is taught as a subject in primary schools and in lower secondary. So we're going to combine what we heard, what we learned from the project, but integrate it in the curriculum. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Diane. Any thoughts, Jennifer?
Yes, so I may also comment on the second question, how this runs maybe simultaneously with normal classes. So I can say that the classes run from Monday to Friday, of course, but then each Wednesday in the afternoon they have time for the clubs. So this Scratch was being taught during at that time, like in the afternoon. And again, while they taught it, they were aligning it with what is already there, like in the curriculum, as Diane has said. So what I can say is that These two were complementing to one another, either normal classes or Scratch programming. Both are contributing, yeah, to the quality of education. So that's what I can say about that. And uh, when we were designing this, we made sure that each STEM course, Scratch is applied in each of the STEM courses. So students are doing like real practicals on different things. I remember some students did a project on fermentation and they used Scratch for that. So this was applied in all those STEM subjects. So for the first point also to add on, I can say that for Scale Up, already uh, the REB, Rwanda Education Board, already they are teaching, they have Scratch in the curriculum for both primary and secondary school. But also, I think if VVOB gets another chance, they can even scale it up more, because now it was a pilot phase that was just conducted in one of the 30 districts that we have in the country. So I think maybe if they get more fund, I'm thinking this is the first thing they will do, like scale up this project, because they saw that it's really, really impactful, and uh, it has really helped, especially the teachers and students. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing those thoughts with us. Being very mindful of time, we'll be switching to our second case study. But here's acknowledging one of the questions that we got online. So Diane, Jennifer, you can just put it at the back of your thoughts to see if you could address it at the end of this general session. So one of the questions we've gotten online is, did students or schools get materials from the project, like laptops? And who were the teachers? Are they just, were they only ICT or mathematics teachers only? So you wouldn't be responding to those questions now, but at the end of this session, you might have that opportunity. So I'm going to be moving to our second case study. And in this case study, the Francophonie Institute for Education and TVET and APEFE in Rwanda will explore the Inserjeune app, which is a tool for measuring TVET graduates' labor market integration and employer satisfaction. The app makes it possible to identify and specify the sectors with job opportunities by locality in real time, and to guide future learners and TVET schools towards the jobs of the future. And to kick off this session, I'll be introducing our two main speakers. So sitting right beside me here on site, I have Mona Laroussi, and she's the director of the Institute of the Francophone Institute of Education and TVET in Dakar, Senegal. IFEF operates under the International Organization of the Francophonie, OIF, playing a significant role in the Francophone educational landscape. Through her research and leadership, Mona continues to shape the evolving landscape of educational technology, focusing on adapting and contextualizing learning environments to meet the needs of 21st century learners. And we also have another presenter, Eric. He is joining us online. And his short bio, Eric is a TVET expert with expertise in dual training, curriculum development, training of trainers, mentorship, entrepreneurship training, and career guidance. He has worked extensively in South America, the Caribbean, and Africa with organizations such as ACTEC, ILO, the Japanese Corporation, APEFE, AFD, the European Union, and IFEF, Dakar OIF. So taking it further, I'll be handing over the floor to Mona to take us through her presentation. Thank you.
It will be in French.
Sure.
So you can put your headset. Rebonjour pour ceux qui étaient là ce matin.
Well, for those who were there this morning, I have my colleague Eric Hubi from Rwanda. It is my colleague, and I'm going to use the pointer for my presentation. We often say that we train uh, learners, young learners, but at the end of the day, do they work or do they have a job? When we talk about vocational training, it's different because it's a short-term training, so we can know afterwards if they have a job, and therefore we have developed a tool called Inserjeune to insert young learners. Next slide, please. This is a tool which measure the opportunity and the match between the training he got and the possibility to have a job. Thanks to this tool, the learner can tell afterwards if the training he got is matching the needs of the company. And another question is the company, of course, satisfied with the training of the learner. So it means he has been, for instance, trained and he got a job after 6 months, 1 year, or maybe he never got a job or he became self-employed. And this is something we can follow up. This is the link for the website, and here you have the different stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in a classic information system? We have those who got a degree, so we talk about the learners who have a degree, then we have the schools, and then we have companies. So it's a triangle, and in each triangle you've got managers. It's quite technical, but nevertheless I am obliged to say it. There is an administrator for the platform, and then also a country, a regional and a local administrator. And then we've got the supervisor, the director, the country with the legislation in the country, and then the schools. What I think it's basically a French-speaking tool used by French-speaking countries. And the Minister of Education has a dashboard and can measure all the training sessions which exist, the training sessions that are very useful, those who are not really useful, and he can check and he can say, for instance, okay, digital training session, this is very fruitful and everyone could get a job. For instance, in the digital sector, you've got different jobs. You have, for instance, the coding, but you have other jobs, and we have to look at what are the most interesting jobs. And Anna, she said that technology, it's 36 months. If I train, for instance, a web writer, every 36 months I have to change the training session, the content of the training session. And indeed, what is going to happen, and maybe Eric will remind what we have been through. You need to create an account. The learner has to fill in a profile, fill in a question form, and then we have to analyze the data. I agree with what has been said this morning, the digital divide. At one point in time for us, it seemed very easy to have a question form to click on OK, and Eric will remind the first time we tested this tool in a small local school, it was even difficult for people to click on the mouse. They didn't know how to click on the mouse, so it was a little bit difficult, and we don't have the same target groups. We are not talking about people going to university, so the tool has been highly simplified so that young people can fill it in, and also companies and industries. Now it is, well, the tool has been developed 5 years ago. Each time we amend it, we review it, we revisit it. It has been tested on 18 100,000 students. It has been used by 16 countries, and I think that this is therefore a huge success because the French-speaking countries or any other organization, you cannot always help. At one point in time, the country has to become independent, autonomous, and this happened with 4 countries. 4 countries decided to create their own national tool based on that and became fully autonomous. And then the data sovereignty, when the country controls the data and the tool, it becomes the owner of the data. We are present in 528 schools, 574 companies, and this is the timeline. But I mean, this is the kind of statistical figures we have. What are the most important jobs? What is the percentage of people, of youngsters who could get a degree? And you can, of course, make a national comparison, a regional comparison. And in Africa and elsewhere, we still have the cross-border jobs. I mean, you can be trained in Ghana and have a job in Togo because it's just next door. So this is available, and then you can take the necessary decision based on the data. Now, how did we start? On the 16th of October, we started with the first tool. On the 2nd of November, it was nationalized in Togo. 20th of November in another country, and so on and so forth. So these are the countries which have adopted our tool. Now, let's come back on statistical figures. We have statistical figures per job, per country, per gender, per age group, and that's very interesting. And maybe I can add, we could add how to deal with these data. How can we use it in the best possible manner, this data? And now I'm going to give the floor to Eric. We are going to look at a case study in Rwanda with the APEFE and the IFEF, and I'll give the floor to Eric. Eric, the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Mona.
Thank you very much, Mona. Thank you very much. And I'm very pleased to be able to co-present with you this tool. Well, good afternoon from Kigali. I'm going to talk about the case study. Oh, yes. Now the case study is there again. It disappeared from my screen. I'm going to talk about Rwanda and basically the experiment taking place with the IFEF, which developed the tool Inserjeune with APEFE Rwanda. And well, it's a cooperation with three groups. We here in Rwanda, we had a language issue. We wanted to test it. We wanted to test the app, the platform in English. But that was not very realistic and very efficient. So therefore, we have reversed the trend of our experimentation, and instead of testing the tool available on the IFEF site, we have decided to launch the experimentation by the development of the national app. Mona said it. The target was the ownership, the national ownership of the tool, and it means also a translation in Kinyarwanda for a better reuse and a better understanding of the question list by users. And Mona said it. Sometimes it is difficult for some users to use this app. Often they don't know how to use it. So we translated it in Kenya, Rwanda, and then there will be a second step, the training of learners, of users. We said that there were schools, companies, and those who had a degree. Here, training users, it means to train focal points in schools, and also company bosses will get in touch with professional associations. We want to get in touch with businessmen, because the app can only be alive and kicking if there is a strong link with the private sector. And then we will conclude by the final implementation and also by a statistical analysis of all the data. Because the statistical data, the statistical analysis, we can obtain them in real time through the platform, which means at any time you can get all the necessary information, and it is always up to date. Next slide, please.
Alors, je pense que Mona me laisse aussi la parole.
Monet, yes, that is also for me, I think, no?
Un petit peu, vous allez nous dire quelle est la réelle utilité.
What is the real use? Why is this tool really useful? Well, as regards schools, schools can keep a secure database of their own students who obtained a degree. So there will be statistical figures available in real time. Schools can also have a look at job offers. Google Map is also integrated in the platform, and they can also improve the list of training session based on the needs of the market. So we know it's a real tool. It's a real tool to take into account the real situation. So we have the job advertisements, the job opportunities, and now also as regards ministries. Of course, ministries will get statistical figures on those who have a degree. Those are real-time statistics. They can also look at the number of young graduates who could obtain a job. Also, they can get statistical figures on companies, and they can also adjust curricula, but also training session based on the information they get. The return of information, geolocalization, is also available as it is for schools, and they can also improve their service provision, taking into account the market needs.
Merci.
Next slide, please. Yes, now, what about why is this tool useful for young graduates? Well, they can have a look at job ads available on the platform. They can apply for a job. So the young graduates, they can indeed apply for these job ads. Geolocalization of company is possible. Of schools, of course, they can increase their expertise, taking into account once again the market needs. Last but not least, as far as companies are concerned, enterprises can publish their job ads, and this is free. This is maybe an advantage compared to other sites where they have to pay for that. They can have a look at other job ads. Geolocalization is available as it is for the different stakeholders, and they can improve their services, taking into account the market needs. I think that this was the last slide. Thank you very much indeed for your attention, and we are ready to answer all your questions. Thank you very much indeed.
All right. Thank you very much once again to Mona and Eric for taking us through that very insightful presentation. So at this point, we'll be opening up the floor to questions both from our on-site participants and then our online participants. I've already seen some questions already coming in from our online participants. So I think we have a question there. Can the mic, please? Yes. Thank you.
Bonjour, merci beaucoup pour la présentation. Je m'appelle Tom Dilly de
Thank you
Forum
very much for the presentation, Tom, from Forum 2014. Thank you because you talked about integration in the market, because for all those who have worked in the field of vocational training, it's always so difficult to find data. So integration into the workplace, we need data related to integration into the workplace, because we need to know what kind of training session we need to develop, what kind of courses and curricula. I worked on your tool in Madagascar with another partner, and I can tell you that it is very difficult to implement such a tool. I wanted to ask the question, how do you include all the stakeholders efficiently and also in a sustainable way? Because here you're asking thousands of companies to join a tool which is basically a very complex ecosystem. You're asking millions of young people, young graduates, to be on that tool. Do you have the means to fulfill this target? And how can you have, at the end of the day, always a very efficient and relevant dashboard for the minister? Well, this morning I said you have to keep going, keep going. This is my answer. I repeat again, never give up. And this is the idea of the tool, because the learner has to be there to fill in the questionnaire. But you know, the carrot is a job ad. He has a login, he has a password, and he can get access to job ads. And this is the carrot for the learner. But then for the company, there is also a carrot, because they can disseminate, they can showcase their job ad. So it's win-win, and therefore it's very important also to have the agreement of the ministry, because it's the ministry which imposes this tool in schools, and therefore it is very important to have this triangle, because then the tool is being promoted. I have no microphone, I'm sorry. You can do it on LinkedIn, of course, but on LinkedIn you have no geolocalization. You know, we are adaptive. Here, the job ad is basically matching his profile. Here, it's a personalized job ad in his region, in his country, in his local community. We do not replace LinkedIn. It's a simplification. Maybe, Eric, you can add something?
Non, non, c'est bon. C'est bon pour moi,
No, for
effectivement.
me, it's great. What you said as regards job ads, it has to be a win-win system, but the question of the gentleman is maybe related to access difficulties for all young graduates. Sometimes young graduates have a limited access to internet.
L'accès.
Maybe this is the issue. Sometimes, you know, access is very difficult for young graduates.
Et je pense que, par exemple, je pense pour le Rwanda, qu'il y a
And for
moyen
Rwanda, I think that we could offset this by organizing
très vulnérables,
for very vulnerable groups, target groups, local inquiries, local visits, going there in situ, for instance, to fill in the missing information. I think it's a reality in all the countries. I don't know if I answer your question.
Thank you so much for that question. We have a question coming in from our online participants, and then we would open the floor to, depending on the amount of time we have left, maybe one or two questions from our on-site participants. So Mona, this question is for you. It's from one of our participants online. So the question says, if other organizations working in youth skills development and entrepreneurship in TVET, like via Don Bosco, for example, would like to adopt this platform, what would be the procedure? It also says, is the platform adaptable? Can we also add questions for a specific context?
Don Bosco utilise déjà Inserjeune.
Don Bosco already uses Inserjeune, and we are now present in 35 Russian-speaking and English-speaking countries, and this app is our app. So we give a code. I am for an open software and open educational resources app. All the software must be given to the countries. It has to be given to the country with all the necessary updates. For Don Bosco, it has been translated in English, in Portuguese, in Italian, and Eric is going to translate it for Rwanda. And each country has also its own legislation. This is the advantage of the app. It's not a LinkedIn, it's basically a national application depending on the national legislation.
Do we have any? Okay, one question. Thank you.
A very candid question, actually. To what extent do you already have any statistics about the outcomes for the school leavers? And related to that, to what extent is the database also longitudinal? Can you follow up the careers of young people across a few years? Or
Okay. Mona, thank you for that question.
Can I answer in French or you want to en français? Okay. Et puis Eric va compléter.
And maybe Eric can add something because he has worked a lot on the traceability. Yes, we follow. There is a follow-up of the career. The learner is a young graduate, finds a new job, has to mention it on the platform. But then, if he changes, if he wants, for instance, to go to another training session, he has to mention it. If he changes a job, he mentions it. For instance, he has worked as a web writer and he wants, for instance, to follow a training session related to artificial intelligence and prompting. Well, yes, so we can follow it up. So yes, there is a follow-up. Eric, I don't know if you want to add something because it's more your business. Yes, indeed.
Pour faire le maybe I can reply in English as the question was in English. It is a graduate tracking system. So the graduates might complete one questionnaire. And then, as Mona was saying, the one graduate can go back to a training session and then come back to the labor market. So they are invited on the platform to complete a second questionnaire or a third one or a fourth one, depending of the professional status. Okay, so that's how we can examine how a graduate is evolving. In the training and in the labor market. That's what we can say. I didn't get your question about school leavers because, in fact, through the application, it's difficult to track the school leavers. We can track the evolution of the TVET graduates within the system, but not really for school leavers. I don't know if I reply to your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. We're getting to the final round of our session this afternoon, which has been very insightful and educative also. So at this point, I'm going to bring back if you can let me have the three online participants, and then of course we have our on-site presenter. So I'm going to have the final round of remarks from each of our presenters. Apologies to anyone else who wanted to ask questions. We're just out of time now. So you were meant to have 1 minute earlier, but we're going to cut it down to just 30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, what would be your key takeaway or what you want participants to leave with from this session? Diane, if we can start with you.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that this project of 250 Scratch is very relevant because now in Rwanda we are looking forward to integrating coding robotics, and AI in the curriculum to support improving the STEM education and promoting the 21st century skills. So to achieve this, we need to have teachers equipped with relevant and necessary skills. Students were motivated, girls were more confident. So this is a commendable project. And I hope that we can continue this collaboration and partnership. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Diane. Straight to the point. Jennifer, can we do 20 seconds? Jennifer, are you still there? If not, I quickly move on to Mona because of time.
Moi, pour conclure, je pense que les jeunes, c'est très important.
Yes, I think that, well, it's very important to train young people, but the professional integration, it is the priority. I want the young generation to dream, and they cannot dream if there is no integration on the labor market. Eric?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, just in a few words, we for APEFE Rwanda, we have a TVET program. But our main concern, like Mona was saying, I mean, it's just so important to say that career guidance for us is the most important. There is probably a lack of career guidance. There is a career guidance policy being elaborated for Rwanda. That's something missing, and then we would like to invest a lot on career guidance, entrepreneurship, and this towards youth employment. That's my final remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric. Jennifer, are you still with us? Okay, so thank you so much to all our esteemed presenters, both online and on-site, and also to our incredible participants, both online and, of course, in person. So, of course, please remember to keep the engagement going with us on social media via our hashtag edtech for inclusion. And, of course, a reminder that the recording of this presentation can be downloaded from our website, www.educate.be, and it will be available very soon. So thank you so much for joining us. The next session will start in a few minutes. Thank you very much.